So here is Kaz at the Maryland 3-star, and coming into the dressage ring, it's always very timed, and with the amount of time it takes to get from the schooling ring up to here. But I wanted to make sure to keep things really relaxed for him. Each horse has their own kind of prep that you do before you go into the ring, but for Kaz, it's really about having him stretch over his back and keeping things pretty chill. So I have him on a nice loose rein, walking past the judge's box, and I wanted to make sure he got a good look at everything, like the cameras and the judge's box, and he didn't seem too fazed by that at all. So I waited to hear the bell, and then after I hear the bell, I'm going to start picking him up, putting him together a little bit. And at this time we have, what you can't see is the big screen that has the countdown clock for us to go into the ring. So we have 45 seconds to get into the ring. And then as soon as I picked up the canter, he was just a little bit, needed some settling before we went in the ring. And I've got my eye on the clock and timing it just right. And if I'm late, I can get a penalty for that. So I timed it with just 2 seconds left on the clock. So timed it just right. And then coming down the center line, fairly straight. And at this point, he's feeling pretty good, because sometimes for him, when he's a bit nervous, having that down transition can be a little tough. And then coming into the lengthened trot, he's gotten much stronger. And that's really starting to develop. And what's nice about him is that he's just feeling very rideable and really relaxed in this test. And even so, I feel like there's more horse to come as he gets stronger and stronger. So I was really just going for a nice, accurate, relaxed test. You can see every now and then he might get a little tense. He's starting to blow a little bit there. And then we come down into the walk, so that helped him take a breath and relax. So now coming into the halt, we got almost square, but I wasn't going to ask for any more than that, because we were almost there. And again, felt pretty good in the backup, didn't resist. And then going into our walk, sometimes he can get a little lateral in the walk, but again, he's feeling nice and swingy, and I felt like I could put my leg on, and I was having a very nice horse to ride in this test. And then putting him back together. Sometimes this area of the arena can be pretty tension filled, because again, you're by the judges' boxes, but he came right back up into the contact. I was able to pick up the canter quite nicely. And then we go into our medium canter. And I was a little cautious for this, so I didn't really go as big as he can be, because he can still be a little resistant about coming back and sitting on his hock. So again, getting stronger and softer with that. But so I was a little careful for that medium. And then he did a really nice canter circle. And then coming into the canter walk transitions, in the past we've had where he gets anxious and he can pick up the wrong lead. But again, he's on my aids and feeling pretty good. So that was fairly nice. And then our next 10-meter circle. And then preparing again to go across the diagonal for a canter walk. And just making sure I take my time to make sure my aids are nice and clear for him. You can see just a little smidge of resistance still if I'm picking at him some. And now coming into our half passes, I do really prepare him with a shoulder 4, almost shoulder in, but making it pretty clear to set him up for the balance. Because again, the half passes have been a little bit of his weaker side, really being free in that lateral. And again, I'll set up to prepare for it and then kind of set him on the line with the shoulders and then allow him to move sideways in that half pass position. And so I was really happy with how the test was going. And then coming into one of our final movements, which was the stretch trot. And I was really happy with how he felt. And then just coming up down the center line. And again, my goal was to come in and to have a very kind of accurate, solid test. I wanted to kind of hit in the 20s as all season long we've been working for it. And but again, I kind of thought, well, that was a good test. There's a lot more in there that I could bring out of him, but I was really pleased with how relaxed he was and how rideable he was. And it was the best we've had all season. And then looking at my scores, kind of I could see the scores there. I thought, those were the collective marks. I was like, well, those look pretty good. And then as we're walking out, you're always kind of holding your breath a bit because you don't know if the judges agreed with what your thought was, if it was a good test or not. And then I saw that I had gone into the lead with our best score of the season of a 26.4. So really, really pleased with him. And of course, a shout out to my groom, Megan, who she met me at the end of the ring there. You can see Kaz has turned out beautifully with wonderful braids. And then also we got met up with a steward who follows us back to the steward tent. So then they check all the horses right after the test, their bridles and the saddle area and everything, make sure that they're all set. And then we're all ready. We had ended up staying in second place, moving into cross country. So going into cross country, this is fence 3, which is kind of new on the course this year, was coming into the arena, which was pretty neat. And Kaz handled it great. And now we have a pretty long gallop on down to fence 4 combination, and really just trying to let him cruise at where he wants to be, since it's early on in the course and we have some really good gallops. I wanted to let him feel comfortable and be relaxed. And this combination is a fairly decent size oxer to oxer angle 2 stride, and he does this beautifully. But then I look up as we landed to go, and I see that they have the flags out as a rider had a problem earlier or later on in the course, so I had to be held. So I just bring him down to the trot, and I'm going to let him just kind of cool back down as we were kind of going pretty high adrenaline, but luckily the hold wasn't too long. It was probably 5 or 6 minutes. And then I was able to pick him back up right where we left off. He was a very good boy that way. And got right back into the rhythm. Sometimes that can be difficult when you have a hold. But now coming down to the coffin. And the coffin is a combination of rail fence to a ditch and then to another fence. And he read that really, really well. And it's nice because you can really see the undulation of the ground, how the beautiful hills in Maryland. And now coming to this angled brush to a bending 4 stride, and he did that really well. And I kind of chose to make sure I got kind of straighter to that first fence, and I really didn't want to take the risk of going on at that angle. And there, just you can see as we go into the next field, I'm just trying to let him keep cruising. And now after that table, we have a pretty long pull up to the big water jump. And we have a couple of jumps in between, but this is where you can really get on top of your time here. And you have to kind of know how much you can allow your horse to go and not push too hard. You want to make sure you've got plenty in the tank. So now I'm coming up to the top of the hill where the water is, and he came back quite nicely. And then we have to make a turn to the infamous crab. He didn't care about the crab at all. And again, I have to do a little collection there, but he locks on really nicely to the skinny. And now going downhill. And it's really like about utilizing kind of where your horses can take the breath, where you can let off the gas, but he's still galloping really great. And coming here, you can see he wasn't quite sure about if that roller coaster jump was an actual jump, but I said, no, it is. And he said, oh, okay. And then he managed to do the drop fence to the angle houses beautifully. And then just coming to the last kind of combination here, and he was feeling pretty good. And then coming up probably to the last hill, I started feeling to get a little tired. This is our first 3-star long together, so the first time I've gone, and this is a long 3-star. It was, I think, optimum was 9 minutes, 38 seconds, but finished up really good. I was very pleased with him and really happy with his fitness. As you can see, he's still cantering strong, and I just let them kind of ease up on their own. And then let them kind of come down into the trot to come down into their cool down. And then you can see a little bit in the vet box here. We have our vets. I've got Megan is there, and my dad and his friends are there helping us get him cooled down with the ice water and sponges and walking. But he recovered really great, and I was really pleased. So then the next day we have the veterinary inspection where the horses have to be approved for their soundness to continue on for the next day of show jumping. And Kaz, like I said, he recovered and felt great and passed his veterinary inspection with flying colors. So now on to show jump. And this was proving to kind of be a bit of a nerve-wracking day, I guess, as the show jumping was proving to be very difficult. But I tried really hard to just stay focused with Kaz. I have a lot of confidence in Kaz, as he's a very good show jumper, and we've had a pretty good season. And so I really was just thinking of, okay, deep breath. I'm just walking into the ring at WEC back at home where we do our practice show jump rounds all the time, and trotted in. And again, just trying to keep it, pretty relaxed and simple for him, as that's kind of seems like what he really thrives on. And in leading up to this, I really didn't watch too much of the horses that went around, just a couple in the beginning, and then really didn't pay much attention to what was going on in the competition, just to make sure I stayed relaxed. So I come into the first fence, he jumps it great, and I'm just thinking in my head, yep, we're just going to keep this like a show jump around at WEC. I'm just going to keep on moving nice and forward. And he feels amazing. He's jumping really great. Doesn't feel tired at all from the cross country before. And again, in this ring, you want to make sure your turns are nice and tidy because you can get caught with some time faults. And with our scores being so close, Hannah Sue, who was in first, had a 26 and I had a 26.4. So I really wanted a clean round. But again, in my mind, I'm just trying to stay relaxed, This line was causing a lot of problems as you had to go forward and then you had to steady. But Kaz read it beautifully as we practiced that a lot at home. And I just was so thrilled with him as he jumped incredible that whole round. It felt like we could have just kept going. It was so much fun. And to really have that clean round when we needed it and to put the pressure on the leaders was really, really important. And I was just really happy that we ended up finishing up on our dressage score. And ultimately, we ended up winning. And it was a really amazing moment. And I was really pleased with Kaz and so thankful to all of Kaz's owners that are in his syndicate. And here's a bit of the prize giving ceremony. And we actually had to wait for Megan to come in. She didn't know she was supposed to come in to get her groom award. Just an amazing moment to have our personal best occur at the Maryland 3-star and to be surrounded by so many supportive owners. And you can see my dad and Briggs and Timothy, who's filming, who you don't always get to see, my husband. So it really was a really great feeling to kind of have such a good result happen. So I was so thankful for everyone and so pleased with my horse Kaz.
Your